Today we are learning about fractions, decimals, and percents, which can be easy, part of it, and part of it not difficult, but a little bit more difficult. So, decimals to percents is the first thing we're going to talk about. 2%. How you do that is you multiply by 100, which moves decimal place, decimal 2 places right. So, if you have 0.2 and you are going to change that to a percent, you move the decimal place 2 places to the right, you fill the empty with a 0 and you get 20%. If you have 3.5, you move the decimal 2 places to the right, move the empty with a 0 and have 350%. If you have 0.257, you move the decimal 2 places to the right and have 25.7%. And that's all there is to it, which is multiplying a number by 100, because when you multiply a number by 100, all you're doing is moving the decimal place 2 places to the right, if you could do that in your head. The next thing we're going to do is write fractions as percents, and this is the one that's a little bit more difficult, but I feel like we've done this before, kind of, so maybe it won't be as difficult to do. Okay, when you have a percent, you're trying to get your denominator to 100. Now sometimes, if your denominator divides equally into 100, it's pretty simple to do. But if your denominator doesn't divide equally into 100, you have to do division, which makes it a little bit more difficult. So if we have something like 4/5, 5 goes into 100 equally. So what we want to do is we want to make an equivalent fraction, which we talked about in chapter 4, but we want the denominator to be 100. We multiplied 5 by 20, so we multiply 4 by 20. 4 times 20 is 80. And when we get a numerator that is over 100, the numerator is our percent. Okay? Or if we have 3/10, make an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. We multiplied 10 by 10, so we multiply 30 by 10 and get 30. So since our denominator is 100, our percent is 30%. Or if we have 5/20, we make a new fraction with the denominator of 100. 20 times 5 is 100, so we multiply 5 times 5, which is 25. And since we have 25 in the numerator and 100 in the denominator, our percent is 25%. And we can do that with 2 other numbers. We can do that with 25, because 25 goes into 100 evenly 4 times. So we multiply that by 4, multiply the 2 by 4, and get 8, which means our percent's 8%. And then we have we could do 50, so 1/50 equals 2 times 50 is 100, so 1 times 2 is 2, so our percent's 2%. And there's also one more. Actually, there might be 2 more. Yeah, because I started at 5, I missed a few. If we have 2 over 2, let's change that 2 over, let's change that to a 1. 2 times 50 is 100, and 1 times 50 is 50, so my percent's 50%. And then the last one I think there is off the top of my head is 4. That goes into 100 evenly. So you multiply that by 25 to get 100, and this by 25 to get 100, or 75, sorry. And your percent's 75%. I think since they only show 1, they might only be giving you ones that are divisible to 100. So I'm going to check before I show you the other way. So they do expect you to know the other way, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to allow you to do a shortcut. And because I showed it to you, it's okay. So if you have, let's say, 3/7, and they say to change that to a percent, here's what you need to show me, okay? I'll let you use a calculator as long as you show me that you are doing 3 divided by 7, which equals 0.428, go out 3 decimal places, and then you show you're moving the decimal over 2 places, so it's 42.8%. Or if you have 1/8, show me you're doing 1 divided by 8, which equals, and then you can use a calculator, 0.125. Show me you're moving 2 places over, and that it equals 12.5%. I'm going to do one more. 5/40. No, that's the same thing as 1/8. So we're going to change this top number to 7/40. So you had to have 7 divided by 40, which equals, oops, I keep clearing it. 7 divided by 40, which equals 0.175. Show you moved the decimal twice over and got 17.5%. Now, I don't care if you use this method even when the denominator does go into 100 evenly, as long as you show 1, 2, 3 parts to your problem. Okay? So the last thing we're doing is one of my least favorite things in math. So if you hate it too, that's okay. You are doing least to greatest with a bunch of different types of numbers. So we have decimals, fractions, and whole numbers, and percents. So we have 1 4/5. We have 0.33 with a line over. We have 3, 2 1/5, and 70.2%. And I feel like I missed -1.6. Okay, so the easiest one to know that the least, there's only one negative. So this number right here has to be the least. But the way we can figure out the rest is we can put them all in the same form. So, same form is the first thing we're doing. And we're going to put them all in decimals. And you'll probably all put all of these in decimals because we're working with decimals and percents. And so 1 4/5, what you would do for that is you would do the following. You would take 4 divided by 5 and get 0.8. So that's going to tell you 1 4/5 is 1.8. Okay? This is already in a decimal. 3 is technically already in a decimal. It's 3.0. So then you have 2 1/5. You take the fraction part, 1 divided by 5, and get 0.2. And that's the part that comes after the whole number, 2.2. And then 70.2 is not in a percent decimal yet. So apparently they're teaching you something they didn't teach you before. 70 0.2% as a decimal is 0.702. So when you're changing percent to decimal, move decimal left 2 places. Even if it already has a decimal, you have to move the decimal 2 places, and that drops the percent. So now we have a bunch of decimals here. We know that negative 1.6 is our smallest, and then we gotta look at the rest. This has a whole number in front of it, this has a whole number in front of it, this does have a whole number in front of it, okay? So we're looking at this one and this one. Would you rather have 33 cents or 70 cents? And we're gonna say you don't want 33 cents, so that's the smallest. And then 0.702. And then we're gonna look at the numbers with whole numbers in front of them. $1.80, $2.20, and $3, and those are easy. $1.80, $2.20, and then $3.